guys, welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to go through how I made my recent bear doll. He's called Purr, the ancient fire bear. So he is available in my shop at creaturesofnat.com. So you can head there if you want to adopt him, and I'm also welcome payment plans. So just message me on my shop and we can discuss any payment plans that you like. So just give you a quick little overview. Got some markings on his face, some glass eyes. The head is resin. The ears are quite soft, and I also have some tribal markings on his body, which just kind of made up. And it's the same deal on the other side. He's got a plastic ball and socket armature, and he is quite big and pretty cuddly as well. So if you want to see how I made him, then stay tuned and keep watching. Okay, so I'm starting off with a resin cast of a sculpture that I have sculpted out of monster clay, cast in resin, and it is molded in silicone and then cast in resin. And I actually cast some glass eyes inside of this head. So if you want to know how I cast glass eyes inside resin, I have a tutorial in my shop which you can purchase, and it'll go through how I actually cast the glass eyes in, and it's at creaturesofnat.com. So once this is all ready and done, I go ahead and paint all of the pieces that need to be painted preliminary before I attach any fur. And I'm using a water-based acrylic paint by the brand Chromacryl, and I'm going around the eyes, the nose and the mouth. You can use any acrylic paint you can get your hands on. Acrylic paint's pretty cheap. So yeah, go ahead to your local craft store and see what kind of acrylic paint you can get. I do recommend using a primer on top of the resin before you add any paint, and I have a primer video that you can check out on my channel as well, and I'll probably forget to link it below like I always do, but yeah, it's on the channel, so you can just head there and find it. And this particular doll has a plastic ball and socket armature. I tend to jump between the plastic ball and socket armatures and the wire armatures. So I do hope to actually make a video soon about the differences between the armatures. It's on my to-do list. I just have very little time to actually do that list. But anyway, moving on to the feet. So this is the same deal as the head. It's something that I have sculpted, molded and then cast. And you can see the plastic ball and socket armature that I use there. It's quite big. I think it's a 1/3 size. And then the same deal, painting all the bits that need to be painted with that same black acrylic paint, and just remembering to prime your pieces before you actually paint anything. It's just because the resin is quite slippery and the paint kind of has a hard time adhering to the resin without like a primer or something that has a bit more of a tooth or a bit more of a grip. Yeah, you can just use any primer. You can use plastic primer, you can use anything, but like I said, I have a video that you can check out. And I repeat this same process 4 more times, or 3 more times actually, for the 4 paws, and then let it dry, and then I'll be ready to put it all together. But in the meantime, moving on to the next step, which is cutting out all of the fur pieces. So I'm using this particular faux fur this week, for this particular doll. It's a pretty thick faux fur, which makes it a little bit difficult to work with. The thicker the fur, it's a little bit more difficult to sew, but the fur is usually really high quality when it's thicker. So I've drawn all my patterns on there, and I'm going to go cut it out with a small pair of sharp scissors. But in the meantime, I can go through the little backstory that I have for Purr. Purr is a very rare and ancient creature. They are highly worshipped among the Red Tribal Land residents. These bears can be fierce creatures, however, the older dominant males are usually covered in battle scars from fights. In ancient times, when these bears were plentiful, it was a custom to fight an ancient fire bear in order to become a man. This custom was abolished when the bears became rare and now protected. These creatures usually find den in caves, hibernating only for a few weeks through the year. Ancient fire bears are found in a small area of Red Tribal Land's Mer, called Merstone. So that is Purr's little backstory, and I'm going to be moving the blogs over to a Patreon that I am starting in July, but more on that when I actually launch it. So if you're a fan of my blogs about the creatures, I'll be moving it over to my Patreons for a low tier Patreon. patron. What are they called? Alright, so once I have cut all these pieces out, I then pin it together, first side together, and I sew it up on the sewing machine. And I prefer to use the sewing machine because I find it's a lot quicker and it's a lot stronger, and then I can sort of fabric sculpt the rest of the body if I feel like it doesn't look right. So this is what we had once I've sewn it all up, and because this is quite a bigger body, I can actually sew both sides of the legs up because it's pretty easy to flip the right way around anyway, but I do leave the back end open and also the head. But yeah, like I said, it's a big doll, and the bigger dolls means you can do a quicker sewing job. So this is what we have once it's been flipped the right way around. And once I've done this, I can insert the armature and put that all together. It's a little bit of a different process with the armatures between wire and plastic ball and socket. So I do have a wire armature tutorial in my shop as well if you're interested in that method. So to come together, just a little example, this is what it will look like. This head is quite different from the ones that I've previously made, but I thought something different and I like the result of it. So once I have put the armature in, I can go ahead, sew everything up, and then I start gluing the faux fur pieces to the resin. And I use a tacky fabric glue from a local store here called Spotlight, but you can find tacky glue in any craft store that you have near you. There's not really that much of a difference that I've found between just cheap craft glue, fabric glue, but it is fabric glue that I always buy. I find it works the best with faux furs and resins. And I usually leave this to dry overnight just to make sure the glue has actually adhered to the resin. Some have a different dry time, but I always like to leave things overnight to dry properly and actually adhere or cure. Whatever you're doing, I like to leave it overnight if you're not pressed for time. And the markings that I wanted to add, I just wanted to do a little swatch piece or a test piece on the fur that I'm using with the colours that I had in mind. And I'm using these Sharpie stained pens, and for some reason they're not available in Australia anymore. I don't know whether Sharpie's just discontinued this particular line, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I had these Sharpies for a while, this particular one, and I wanted to see what the colours look like on this fur. And luckily the red one was exactly what I had in mind. And then I just went ahead and just roughed in some patches of how I wanted the patterns to look, and then I can go in after once it's dry and sort of refine everything. But this is exactly the right colour that I wanted, but it's pretty lucky. And I just sort of went freehand with the patterns. I didn't have anything in mind, but I did know that I wanted a swirl on the leg. I didn't know what I was going to do with the face or anything. I just sort of let it come as it went. And the symbol that I went for the forehead was a fire symbol. So that's sort of representative of what particular doll that is. So here's what he looks like, and like I said, you can head to my shop at creaturesofnat.com if you are interested in adopting him and he hasn't already been adopted. And again, payment plans are also welcome, so just send me a message beforehand and we can discuss something. And that is it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any video requests, you can leave it in the comments down below. You can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Nat, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!